Hey, so we're on record, and it's the next big thing with myself, Stuart, of course, our guest, Connor Sephton, writing for CoinMarketCap. Hope I got that right. And also, of course, Scott, who is in the red corner. I'm in the blue. I'm not sure what the sartorial theme of Connor is, but anyway, I do digress.
Red and blue.
Hey, all right, multicolored. You're, what do they call it in crypto terms? You're diversifying. Excellent.
Exactly. I'm neutral. I'm not taking sides.
Hey,
That's awesome.
Consummate journalist, you. Hey, anyway, I think Scott was waxing on about the what's been happening with the Squid token. Maybe you could just do a little intro on that side of things, Scott, and go from there.
Yeah, definitely. My name is Scott Tripp again, or CryptoBeast32 on Twitter. Happy to see you guys all. I'm marketing for BigONE. I do most of the social medias and stuff for the Canada, US area. So excited to be here. And of course, as you guys probably already know about Squid Games, it ended up being the last man standing, as we're talking about. It was a rug pull on people. And there has been a lot of people that actually put their life savings into that. One person in particular put in over $28,000 into the Squid Games and lost it all. And I feel horrible for them. But again, I mean, all of this is preventable in the end. And maybe I'm going to let Connor talk about it first, because he probably knows a lot about it as well. But I mean, there's all these steps that you can take to protect yourself. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was a really unusual one, because obviously there's a lot of mania around Squid Game at the moment, a lot of excitement because of the Netflix show. And I think what didn't help matters is Squid Game actually, the token ended up being covered by a number of rather big media outlets, including the BBC and CNBC. At first, some of these articles that were published by these media outlets didn't include the warnings of problems that we were seeing with the project. CoinMarketCap had noted that many people who had bought into the token were struggling to sell it again on PancakeSwap. And this related to a rather unusual feature that the project had. And it was what they called an anti-dumping mechanism, which effectively meant you couldn't sell it. So let's imagine you bought in at Squid Game and you bought, say, 100 of these Squid tokens. This was a play to earn game, which meant that you were buying the token effectively for the chance to play an online game inspired by the games we see in the TV show Squid Game. And the first round would have cost you 456 squid to enter. Now, given the fact that the price had gone from a penny last Tuesday up until probably about $3 or $4 as of last Friday, that meant that somebody, just to get in the first round of the game, would have ended up having to spend about $1,500 or so. Now, the problem is, if you didn't play the game, you couldn't sell your token. You had to play in order to gain another cryptocurrency. This one was called marbles. The more marbles you had, the more rights you had to sell the token. However, by playing the game, you risked losing your stake entirely, because if you failed the level, you would lose the 456 squid you paid to play. So ultimately, many people were trapped. And like you've said, Scott, I spoke as well to people who said that they'd lost everything. Spoke to somebody who said that they saw their investment go from $57 up to $14,000 and then crash again. People were just watching helplessly as the token went up on Monday from about $600 to $2,800 in the space of 3 hours. And then 5 minutes later, it crashed below a cent. It's an extraordinary bad story.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, sorry, Scott, after you.
No, it's okay. It's just, you feel so bad for new investors. And it's not the first time that you've seen it. It's just one of those things where it simply comes down to education. And it's sad that I'm not saying bad things about the news people that talked about Squid Games before, but it's just one of those things that if it wasn't discussed or if it was researched before, potentially this might have not gone to the level that it did. But I mean, being listed on CoinMarketCap didn't help as well, because once people seen the hype around it and the actual increase in price, of course they were just popping in. So
yeah, it's a tricky one with CoinMarketCap, and I was on the Twitter Spaces earlier today about this. I mean, I still think that the news coverage didn't necessarily help, but I think that this was going to happen anyway. The reason why the news outlets covered it was because it had risen. So I think that the token was already on that path. I mean, with CoinMarketCap, to be fair to them, they had massive warnings, and they still do at the top of the page, that were in place really early, warning people to exercise caution, warning that there were reports that they couldn't be sold, warning that it had nothing to do with Netflix. And that's the thing, you know, it's, in my view, it's far better to present this information to investors complete with the warnings than not to list it at all, and then just leave people with no information, no trustworthy information about what this token's about. So I take that point, but in a way, the way that CoinMarketCap did it, the warning was right at the top of the page, and hopefully that would have stopped some people from getting involved before it was too late.
Well, that was part of the reason why I didn't do it either, because I did see the warning on there. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, people should do the educated decision when they see something like that and do it. So it's not CoinMarketCap's fault. They're just doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? It's just falls down on education, and in the end, this is going to lead into regulation as well when it comes to cryptocurrency. When something like this, they will use this as an example to create more regulation, I think, than ever before.
Yeah, that's the thing when it comes to regulation. It just there just seems to be a real impasse at the moment about how that can be achieved effectively, because regulators can enforce these rules, but it won't be in place across multiple jurisdictions. And it's very possible that these projects will continue to proliferate anyway. The other danger as well is, arguably more concerning as well, Netflix, obviously this token had nothing to do with Netflix, and Netflix was pretty helpless to stop its intellectual property from being used this way. And the worry can be now that if and when Netflix has another hit show, just like it has previously with Bridgerton and Tiger King and House of Cards, all these shows before, opportunistic crypto scammers may start another coin and will be in the same place again. So I think that hopefully many people will have learned a lesson. Unfortunately, it would have been painful for some, but I do think that next time this happens, news outlets will be a little bit more circumspect in what they cover and how they cover it.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, I mean, I saw one comment, Connor, which said that in some ways it makes mainstream media even more reluctant to cover the space, right? Because it's so easy to get, pulled into something which, before you know it, you may look a bit of a fool, I guess.
That's a very good point. I mean, in my experience, at least in the UK, crypto coverage is fairly scant. There are some stories, but not many. And of course, I guess that would be expected, because whereas crypto media covers the minutiae of everything that's happening day to day, the news outlets will only kind of cover those big moments. But yes, that's a very, very good point. And unfortunately, crypto is a difficult space to understand. It can take years to fully get your head around everything. And breaking it down to a mainstream audience is not an easy task. And it's especially not an easy task when you're reporting on what is an untrustworthy project and there's a lot of jargon.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, there's a lot of work going on, to try and educate folks in mainstream media. But, you don't want to cover something unless you're absolutely sure. So I guess they'll make them more wary. But then also, I guess, more power to you, Connor, in, making sure that at least in the crypto media, that these kind of scams are, detected early on, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's in hindsight, there's a lot that both crypto media and mainstream media could have done differently with this story. I think that it wasn't just the likes of the BBC and CNBC, which were breathlessly reporting the rises. Other crypto media outlets did too. But it's a lesson, it's a learning curve. And, I'm very confident that we will see things improve when it comes to media coverage and the quality of media coverage going forward. You've got the likes of Bloomberg, who are hiring specialist crypto reporters and bloggers. Other media outlets as well have got specialists who are starting to look into this on a more aggressive basis. The BBC itself has done some pretty good podcasts on the missing crypto queen being one example. That was a really good in-depth investigation. Every media outlet, crypto or otherwise, does have lapses and has bad days, and it's cock up rather than conspiracy. And lessons will be learned from this, and things will improve. I'm very confident about that.
Definitely, I feel the same way. It will create change. There's no question about it. Yeah. We're going to talk about something else as well, Stuart. I think you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
What was it?
Funny enough, segueing from what we were just saying about the media, I know that one thing that maybe divided the media, the mainstream, was Facebook's announcement that was changing its name to Meta. And I saw there was a piece in the FT, maybe it was yesterday or the day before, basically kind of saying, is this just another, type of, another opportunity to make money, but, not really actually delivering anything new. It's just, it's a chance for the crypto bros to, shill their NFTs, but, is there really anything of substance in that? Which I thought was obviously pretty pessimistic, but again, it's interesting how this, the whole connection between crypto and the metaverse is actually, really taking an interest. But what's your thought on it, Connor? I mean, are you an optimist or a pessimist on this?
Well, I think it's very tricky to know at this point. I think that Facebook clearly has conviction with what they're doing, obviously now known as Meta, because of course they literally changed their entire company's name to reflect this new vision, this new area of priority for them. I think that it also helps that the Facebook brand isn't necessarily the most well regarded in the world, and some think it's deeply toxic, deeply damaging, and changing the company's name to Meta could help break the link between that a little bit. I think it's a very early stage. I think that Facebook will launch some metaverse products and launch a new world that at first probably will be very clunky. I think we'll be looking down the line in 20, 30 years at what initially was first released, and we'll kind of cringe, just like we looked at the websites of the 1990s and look at them now. It's going to be a very early stage. But Facebook is by no means alone in this. Microsoft also getting into the metaverse. They're launching tools for the Xbox and for Microsoft Teams. Nike also getting involved because they are trademarking their signature logo and their slogan for use in virtual worlds, and they're hiring people to get involved with creating a metaverse for them. So I guess it's just a matter of wait and see. I think that people in crypto will be disappointed by the extent to which Facebook integrates crypto and potentially NFTs into this metaverse. There was a really good comment by an executive at Oculus who was speaking. He was giving a keynote speech earlier this week, and he was quoted as saying, "I use adult entertainment as a litmus test. If there's adult entertainment, it's a very open platform from a commerce standpoint. We probably won't be there." So I think that Facebook won't be offering unfettered access to crypto in its metaverse. There will be limitations, there will be content guidelines. So it isn't necessarily going to be probably what most crypto enthusiasts would hope for. But it is really telling to see the impact over the past week or so that Facebook's announcement has had on existing Metaverse platforms and their token prices. Decentraland, I think, is up by 295%.
All right, yeah.
Sandbox also up by 300%, and they just completed a $93 million funding round. There's a lot of activity here, and it's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out.
The thing that I'm finding too, that the word that you're getting out of the cryptocurrency world just through Twitter Spaces and different things that I'm seeing is a lot of people in the crypto world are frowning upon Facebook in a way, because they feel like they were the first ones to really bring forward the metaverse, and to actually they're ahead of Facebook as far as I'm concerned right now when it comes to it. Their planning is already there. The Web3 is coming. Like, I understand Facebook is hiring 10,000 people to work on the metaverse, and there's a reason behind that, is they need to try and catch up. But in the same sense, I don't think Facebook can do the same thing that they did with Facebook, where they lock everyone out of it. I think with you got these developers and people that are involved in the cryptocurrency world that are going to find ways to get around it and work, like in player one, when you've seen the dark net kind of in player one, you're going to have the same kind of thing, I think, in the crypto universe, where people can go, and not necessarily the dark net or anything like that, but where you're going to be able to take your Oculus and maybe switch the programming around or do something to allow yourself to actually get into these worlds. And there's nothing that anybody's going to really be able to do if you're the one that downloads the software onto it using your developer app in Oculus. That's your prerogative to do that, right? So
yeah, I guess I'd be more just to play devil's advocate, I'd probably be a bit more pessimistic, because I kind of see that Meta are going to be more like the Disneyland of the metaverse. Right? It's going to be a walled citadel where if you pay your Meta bucks, then you'll be able to go and enjoy all the rides and the thrills and the interaction. However immersive, but it's they're going to make sure no one else is going to get in. So for me, the analogy is like the difference between proprietary and open source software. So proprietary is really nice, and Windows is nice and easy to use for anyone who's the average citizen. But of course, all the techies love open source, so they can configure and tweak it as they like. But for the average person, they're not going to bother with that. Same with the metaverse.
Yeah, it's very true. And you will see people grab onto Facebook. I can remember when Facebook first came around, I'm aging myself here, and all my friends be like, why would we go on that? Why would we do that? And then all of a sudden you come to nowadays and you see so many people in Facebook and so many people online in that world. Like, there's no stopping them. They're brilliant. But I think the governments are even going to be regulating Facebook a little bit more closer, or Meta as they call themselves, because they don't want them to hold on to the monopoly that they're holding on to currently. Like, I think they really want to kibosh that, or I hope they really do, but who knows? I don't really know.
Yeah, but hey, Connor, what do you think of the actual knock-on effect there? You were saying already on Decentraland and Sandbox that the Meta announcement has impacted on their token prices. Do you think that's going to have a wider ripple effect, Connor?
Yeah, well, what I'm going to be really interested to see is, and like you guys have noted very rightly, the Sandbox and Decentraland were first. But what I think and what I worry about is that Facebook's going to come along. They've already got 2.8 billion users in the bag, and they will probably launch a metaverse, which is probably more usable and accessible and easy to kind of an easy gateway for the users that they have. And I worry that could have an impact on Decentraland and the Sandbox in terms of users. Because Facebook, by the sheer size of its platforms, has a massive advantage there. So that's the main thing I'm concerned about, really, whether or not this could kind of diminish enthusiasm for Decentraland and the Sandbox going forwards. You know, blockchain platforms, they still have this issue with usability, and to an extent they have an issue with scalability as well. And so if Facebook does this well, yeah, it's going to be a big problem.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be interesting how they do it. And the other part too, like I went and looked at Sandbox and tried to kind of implement it a bit or play with it. And there's no, like you're saying, there's no easy way to access it or do what you want on it. And it's super overcomplicated. And that's the thing that crypto needs to concentrate if they want any chance at going against Facebook, is they need an easy to use platform that's simple click and you're there, or a quick login and you're entered and you know where you're going. Because without that, they aren't going to get the people. There's no question about it.
Yeah, and it can make business sense as well. There was a really good report by Hayden Capital this week. They were looking into Coinbase and its stock. And they were saying that, yes, Coinbase at the moment has higher transaction fees than many other rival exchanges, especially for those who use the consumer-facing Coinbase app rather than Coinbase Pro. But Hayden Capital argued that Coinbase probably won't end up being involved in a race to the bottom when it comes to transaction fees, and they can probably justify this premium because of how simple the Coinbase app is for users to transact on. And so users are probably happy to pay that little bit extra because everything's so easy. So if crypto businesses, if crypto projects really focus on simplicity and usability, it can make business sense because they can probably make a bit more money off it, and it will be more easy to entice new users onto the platform.
I agree.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I heard something on Pomp's podcast the other day. He was talking to someone who's concentrating solely on Bitcoin for like high net worth family office type folks. And his point about that was, it's just keeping it extremely simple, that people, who, a lot of money spare, they don't want complicated. They want something simple that's going to do the trick. And okay, we may not have, a lot of money to throw around ourselves, or, I don't anyway, but I've spent it all on my Xbox. But nevertheless, if that business is successful, that will have a kind of a little knock-on effect, maybe a little bit of a, influence on the wider market in terms of, like ABBA as well, just getting folks to start thinking about, if you're going to compete with the likes of Meta / Facebook going forward, and you've got to really raise the game on that usability. So yeah, just picking up on what you're saying, Scott.
Yeah, I just, everything, even when you look at, for instance, the BSC network, using Trust Wallet, using MetaMask, the complexity behind them is what scares people from using them. So if they all found the easiest way to do it, then we would see that more people joining into it, which in the end is dangerous too, I guess, because they're not really doing the research, they're just clicking on stuff. But in the same sense, it would allow cryptocurrency to become more mainstream. But we are seeing that now. We're seeing it with Australia. The banks are just signing up right now to do a huge, and I know I'm kind of springing this on you, I apologize guys, but they're working with, one of the banks is actually working on putting 8.5 million users onto cryptocurrency, but it's going to be more the mainstream currencies you're looking at, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, a few of the other ones. But I mean, Australia has always been fairly strict on cryptocurrency, so it's kind of amazing to see their banks actually looking at it and making it more mainstream. It's exciting.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if, on that same note, I saw today news that one of the big banks in Thailand has bought the largest crypto exchange. So, banks now, which basically just says banks can't just sit there and see what happens, right? They can't sit on their hands. They see the market and, have to think about what they're going to do. They can't just, have a strategy of,
Sorry.
So yeah, just picking up what you're saying.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
I think you put yourself on mute, Scott. Just to let you know, you're on mute.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. I had to mute the mic.
Hey.
I had a little bit of coffee boiling in the background, so I apologize about that.
He's got a new computer. Don't listen to the coffee.
Yeah, I'm out in the open on a new computer, so I needed to do this though, because I mean, as you know, in the cryptocurrency world, or even in your guys' reporting world, you never stop, right? So if I'm not at home, I still want to be able to have the ability to have a laptop and a camera and a mic to be able to travel with me if I'm going anywheres or doing anything. So I have the opportunity to still log into things like this and be able to talk to people. So
Actually, on that note, has anyone come across any nice new gadgets or cold wallets in the crypto space, Connor or Scott? I mean, I haven't myself, but I've just, like I said, I've got Xbox, but anything on the wallet side of things? Heard of anything?
I can't say I have, I'm afraid. Not on the wallet front, anyway.
Right. What about no shiny new gadgets you've come across? It's all it's just Squid Games tokens and that's it, right?
well, Ethereum hit a new high of 4,500, which is amazing.
Oh yeah,
that's exciting.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of a bull run
around that, though. It didn't really create much of a buzz on Twitter, that one. It seemed to pass people by a bit, I thought.
I think the real push right now is on DeFi. I really feel that we're going to see that, and Polkadot right now with their parachains opening up. I think we'll see a bit more buzz on that too. Yeah.
Yeah, the slot auctions. Yeah, that's true. But I like your point, Connor, about Ethereum. It's all-time high going past with little notice. Funnily enough, a podcast a couple of weeks ago, people going on about the all-time high in Bitcoin, and one of the two guys saying, I'm not buying Bitcoin, I'm buying Ethereum. And so they did it. That was a good bet.
Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin and Ethereum, I mean, Ether's consistently managed to outperform Bitcoin over the past 2 years or so, if not longer. And I think there were a couple of big factors for Ether this week. Firstly, the fact that this is actually the first consecutive 7-day period where Ether's been a deflationary asset, meaning that more ETH has been burned and taken out of circulation than ETH entering circulation, which means that there's less supply to go around when demand rises. So that's a really promising step. There was also the Altair upgrade as well. Ooh.
Yeah. We lost him. We can keep going though. But yeah. I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah, I was just going to say the Altair upgrade as well. Oh,
yeah, he'll pop back in. But now Bitcoin's just had their upgrade as well. They went up to they're going to be having it, they're assuming on November the 14th. Have you heard about the Taproot actually being coming? That's going to be interesting.
Yes, I have. Yeah, it will be. But I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's just interesting to see what's going to happen to ETH, because of course there's a lot of competition between ETH and some of the others like Polkadot and Cardano. That's a concern. Also, the fact that fees when it comes to the Ethereum blockchain are still very, very high. And in fact, there was a panel of 50 experts for Finder.com. They were doing some predictions for what's going to happen to Ether in the next 12 months. And there was a particularly staggering statistic, because 30% of those polled believe that Ether will lose market share to rival layer 1 platforms over the coming 12 months or so. And even more concerningly, perhaps for Ethereum, 13% of those polled think that Solana will one day become the primary DeFi platform, overtaking Ethereum entirely. So there's a lot of pressure on Ethereum now to get this proof of stake upgrade done, and done well, and done quickly. Otherwise, it may start to potentially slip away in the rankings.
Well, and you even see it with them using, I think their last fork that they just did, they are working a little bit with Polkadot, I think, on that. So that should help them a bit. I don't know how much they're working together, but in the same sense, Polkadot's got an interesting network along with like Kusama and that, which is part of them as well, and some of the other ones. So, I mean, this is all just like we've all said, it's the first inning of the cryptocurrency world. So let's see what happens in the end.
Yeah, and if they start working together, that's to be celebrated, in my opinion, because at the
100%.
moment we live in a world where it's the equivalent of, if you've got a Yahoo email address, you can only send email to Yahoo contacts, and if you've got a Gmail email address, you can't send an email to a Yahoo contact because everything's so fragmented. So if more and more bridges are being built between all of these blockchains, that can only be a good thing. We do need more than one blockchain in this ecosystem, but the blockchains that do make it need to be able to communicate with each other.
I agree. Yeah, and that's the whole point of decentralization in the end, is the ability to be able to do stuff like that. So I'm excited. It looks like our timer is almost out too. We got 3 minutes and 43 seconds left. So I'll let you guys do your closing stuff.
Yeah, I thought the time had gone, but actually it was my Wi-Fi somehow kicked me off. Anyway, back to you, Connor. Anyway, the last couple of minutes. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh yeah, no, you weren't interrupting. But yeah, there's been all sorts of good, interesting stories around this week. I mean, obviously Shiba Inu is one to watch, isn't it? It has started to cool slightly after the peak trough gain of, or trough to peak gain, I should say, of 1100% in October. You know, you've got a restaurant in Paris which is now accepting SHIB. I mean, I do think that we're going to start potentially to maybe see the limits of where this can go. By my rough maths, if it hit 1 cent, that would be worth 5 times more than the market cap of Bitcoin. So we're starting to reach the limits of its rises.
Yeah.
And there's been loads of people on Twitter saying, oh yeah, Shiba Inu can hit $1 one day. No, it can't, because if it did, as one wise man pointed out on Twitter, it would have a market cap that's equal to the entire world's wealth twice over. So there's going to be a limit as to how high it can go.
Bring on the burn. That's what they need to do. That's the only way they're going to get to where they want to be. That's it. So, yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming again, Connor. We appreciate it so much, and we appreciate what you bring to the table and your information that you bring. It's so amazing, and I just really love it. So thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
We're gonna have to do more of these, Connor, because I definitely want you on here giving your opinion and the information that you know, because I do definitely consider you an expert. So
thank you very much. Well, that makes one of us.
All right, you guys, have a wonderful day. Thank you, Stuart, for coming into this space as well, and being here with us also.
Okay.
We'll talk soon. I'm gonna hit the end here. So have a wonderful day, you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Got my little wave there. We'll talk soon. Bye for now.